Hey people, how's it going? Apollo and I are chilling out today. A beautiful sunny afternoon at Port Darlington. We've never taken him to the beach before, so I figured it's my day off. Might as well give it a shot, see how he likes it. But anyway, this video is actually going to be all about Apollo. And if you don't know, Apollo is a male Savannah monitor. This species comes from various different countries in Africa, and they are a mid-sized monitor lizard that has a lot of controversy around them. And in this video, I'm going to go over a few of my own personal reasons for getting him as he escapes his harness here, and I'll explain the things I'm talking about when I say they are a very controversial species. Through the powers of editing, we are back. Except we are no longer at the beach. We're just at a local creek. I'm letting him get some free roam time in. I like doing this, it's fun. It's fun to watch him roam. It's good exercise and it's great enrichment for him too. I always stress how important it is to give your monitor lizards enrichment, because they are definitely a little bit smarter than your average house gecko. So it's important to give them the mental stimulation that they require. But anyway, continuing on with what I was saying, this is going to be a video mainly about Apollo and all of his neat little facts. So to start things off, I actually got him from a pet shop called Jackie's Critters. And he was, I have no idea how old he was. I have no idea what his origin was. It's assumed to be wild caught just because the majority of them are. But he was, I think he was about 6 or 7 inches at most. So he wasn't very big. He was still just a wee lad. I didn't impulse buy him. I had done a lot of research prior on Savannah monitors, so I had a pretty good idea of what I was getting myself into. But looking back at it, I was definitely missing a lot of key components in the husbandry for these guys, like the diet. I definitely messed that up. Not horrendously, but I messed it up pretty bad the first year. I fed him the majority insects like I was told to do, but I definitely overfed him and he got a little chunky as a result of that. I'll show you a picture of that on the screen right now. But nowadays, he's actually doing really good. Ooh, I don't think he likes my shoe. What was that all about? I don't know what that was. I've never seen that kind of like chasing behavior out of him before. Yeah, got him from Jackie's Critters in 2016. I believe it was July 22nd, if I remember correctly. And now that makes him about 4.5 years old. I don't know exactly when he was born, but going off of when they're typically imported, he's probably in that age range, I would imagine. As for his size, he is currently 31 inches, last I measured. And in terms of weight, I don't know exactly how much he is. Last time I took him to the vet, he was 3 pounds on the dot, and that was about a year and a half ago. So I'd say right now he's probably about 3 to 4 pounds, give or take. He's a pretty good, healthy size Savannah monitor. There's people out there who claim this is a species that will reach 4 foot or can reach 4 foot, and to be quite honest with you, I beg to differ. I only have ever seen specimens in the 4 foot range that look atrocious. Like they're obese by all means of the definition. They can barely walk on their own, and when they do walk, their gut just hangs on the floor as they walk. So it's just, you know, you got to put it into perspective. What kind of life are you willing to provide for this animal? Do you want to have a 4 foot Savannah monitor that's just grotesquely overweight and not really happy with its own life? Or do you want to have an animal that's slightly smaller, but you'll definitely get an extra 10, maybe even 15 years out of it? And not only that, but you'll have an animal that's actually happy in life. And realistically, I think it doesn't really get much better than that in terms of husbandry. You want to try and raise an animal that's both healthy and happy. So why did I get a Savannah monitor when I had all the other options like a Tegu, an Aki monitor, things of that nature? Big reason is I've always had an affinity for monitor lizards, but specifically for the African species. I just love Savannah monitors, black throats, white throats. Even the Cape Banded species too, they're just so gorgeous, and I cannot get enough of them. It's definitely one of the bigger reasons I decided to get him, also because Savannah monitors are conveniently a medium-sized species, so I wouldn't have to dedicate like literally an entire room in a house to one animal, at least with Apollo. Even though, granted, he still has a massive 8 foot by 4 foot by 4 foot enclosure, which I'll show on the screen now. Even though he lives in this monstrosity, it's still 10 times more convenient than housing whatever a blackthroat would need to live in as an adult, being 8 feet long. Because Apollo, being only about 3 foot, he's a lot easier to keep content. One thing that has been very interesting to watch as Apollo has grown and matured is his behavioral change. He has gotten significantly more tolerant of human interaction as an adult than he was as a juvenile, or even a baby for that matter. As anyone knows, when they're babies, they're kind of flighty, they're anxious, they're very small and we're very large to them, and they're acclimating to a world that they don't understand yet. So it's a lot for them to process at that age. But once they live a long enough life like Apollo has here, and they kind of have an understanding of routine and what's going on, they kind of perk up and they start to show their personality, and you start to get a really cool idea of just how smart these animals really are and what they're capable of in terms of intellect. However, I will never say Apollo's tame. I personally don't agree with that. I don't think any monitor lizard is ever truly tame. I think they're all pretty well wild. Even captive bred, you gotta be careful. You gotta take your chances, right? Because it's a strong animal and it can really do some damage if it's looking to do it. So it's important to, no matter what, just respect the animal and their space, as I'm pulling him off of a tree as he's trying to climb. But I just gotta make sure he doesn't get out of arm's reach. But yeah, respecting the animal, respecting their space, understanding that they have needs that are required. It's really the fundamentals to my husbandry. As I said earlier in the video, when I first got him, I did kind of mess up his diet a little bit in the beginning. I did keep it majority insects like I would recommend and like other people recommended. However, what I messed up on was the quantities. I actually gave him arguably too much food, and he got a little chunky as a result of that. But after a few years of working it out and balancing out his routine, it's definitely been a game of hit or miss. But now that I've worked out a few different methods, I've tried different techniques. This one I'm on now, where I feed him insects pretty much once to twice a week, and then rodents I'll give him maybe once a month, and then let him off of any food for 3 weeks after that. That's been the routine I've been going on right now, and he's doing pretty well on that, and he's looking pretty proportional too, which is awesome because I'm trying to make sure he doesn't get overweight. But yeah, hopefully I can keep him in beautiful shape for the rest of his life, and in doing so I can actually use him as an example for other keepers to help keep theirs in magnificent shape. So hopefully as a whole we start to see healthier Savannah monitors in captivity, and in turn start promoting proper husbandry over feeding an animal for the sake of feeding it because it's entertaining. What should be entertaining is observing the animal's natural behavior and watching them do things like this, just watching them explore, use their brains on their own, get an idea of what kind of environment they're in and what kind of smells are around them. It's cool to watch. It's a lot cooler to watch for me than it is to watch them eat. Watching them eat is fun, but it's 10 seconds of enjoyment, especially if it's a smaller meal, right? So you got to put into perspective what's more important, watching the animal eat or watching the animal be healthy and active and exploring and doing what animals are meant to do. Because in captivity, what are we doing? We are basically trying our best to mimic the wild. So if you're not doing that, in my opinion, you're failing as a keeper. But hopefully I can change a few minds on that, and hopefully people start to understand that free time is good for them, and it's important to allow them to be in an environment that they're not typically in and give them the enrichment of a new environment with new smells. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching the video on Apollo's origins and kind of my origins on why I decided to get him and his particular species and my own affinity for them and why I love them. I hope, ooh, that was a big old sneeze. But yeah, I love sharing my interests with people. I love sharing especially my reptile interests, because I just think he's the coolest animal. I think he's so interesting to watch. I think his behavior is neat. I think his overall appearance is just so gnarly, and I'm more than happy to take care of this animal and showcase it with the world. So thank you so much for watching. Apollo and I hope to see you in the next video as he continues smelling plants, trying to escape me in the wilderness. We will catch you guys in the next one. Say peace out, buddy.